So we're going to look at some undervalued projects in the Parachain ecosystem. In my opinion, I feel they are undervalued. They are only Parachains. I am not doing individual assets of Parachain. So for example, one layer one on the ecosystem of Polkadot, I'm not going to mention some of the little individual projects, okay? That'll be for another video. However, if you are wondering why I've been pretty quiet of late, my other half has unfortunately, bless her, had a twisted bowel. She had emergency surgery on Saturday night, so feel free to leave any comments or well wishes. Thursday night or Thursday morning even, woke up pretty violently ill essentially. Thought it was food poisoning. 2 ambulances came out and said it was food poisoning, and then we took her to the out of office GP in A&E essentially, and she collapsed, and then yeah, we found out that she had a twisted bowel 3 hours later in surgery. But she's on the mend, she's doing really well, still be in hospital for another 5 to 6 days potentially, so fingers crossed. But let's get back into some crypto and let's talk about the most obvious thing, Polkadot parachains. Okay, so I know I'm going to get some comments going, the rubbish, the prices are on the floor, but I think that is just due to circumstance of when the parachains came out into the bear market. I'm still on the fence whether the parachain crowd loan facility element works with how the locked up of obviously Polkadot, how you get free tokens drip fed over you over a period of time. But as I say, timing is massive, right? There is going to be in the future, or very, very soon, essentially pay-as-you-go parachains, which will kind of change it a little bit, but we'll see. As always, projects need to kind of develop and adapt and do certain things, but if parachains came out from November onwards in 2021, it's going to be a bit crap on price action. So let's talk about what I have done in this video. So what I've done is I've gone on to parachains.info and I have basically selected Polkadot, but parachains only. As I say, these are not up-and-coming ones. These are not individual projects of a parachain. They are just the parachain itself. So basically layer 1 blockchains, right? Now, if you don't know how Polkadot works, it's literally a layer 0 where you've got multiple layer 1s on it, a parachain, right? Which are interoperable. They are running on their own ecosystem, essentially, with projects underneath, utilizing the security and governance mechanism of Polkadot, right? So it's pretty crazy, really. So I have picked out quite a lot. I want to make people fully aware that, as obvious as it sounds, the prices are on the floor, but it doesn't mean the projects are dead. Actually, far from it. This, to me, is opportunity. Now, I want to be perfectly honest, and I will be talking about this in my Patreon. Feel free to go in the link below. But I am looking to, when I get my dot back from my crowd loans, I may well be investing into some of these projects because they are very low in value. And I'm a big believer in the Polkadot ecosystem. So I'm thinking having a little side bag of just Polkadot ecosystems prior bull run, hopefully. So providing the market doesn't rip up to the upside in October, I'm happy. So I've got quite a bit of dot I can stack away, right? So that's kind of the aim. So with this website here, as you know, it will tell you, so this is a Polkadot parachain. This will tell you when the crowd loans are getting released or when there's going to be released to the team. So as you can see, Moonbeam, how many emissions? It will tell you how far. So obviously, the more emissions that have been kind of bled out, the lower the price is going to be, means less chances of you getting shat on. So let's talk about the first one, Alpha Zero. In my opinion, I think this is undervalued. We are going from the most highest valued to the lowest valued, essentially, kind of ish. Not really in that sense, but you get the idea. The bigger ones are at the top, essentially. The rest of them are kind of in between random places. It has got a decent, fully diluted market cap. It is a pretty awesome project. I do actually hold this in one of my portfolios in my Patreon one. And it is a privacy-enhancing proof-of-stake public blockchain with instant finality, if that's the right word. So it's all enterprise ready. It's pretty impressive, right? So when you look at the website, it will give you a lot of information very, very quickly. So you can see here, this side of it is pretty big. It's pretty powerful as a blockchain, pretty efficient, pretty fast. And yes, it is on the Polkadot ecosystem, which is obviously going to help much more. When we compare, obviously, Ethereum fees and the speed of Ethereum versus, obviously, Polkadot and how it works. And if you know some of the projects, you'll know this. It is very, very different. And this is another one which is very, very similar to that. But as you can imagine, you can use, I've just seen it there, MetaMask. You know, if you've ever used MetaMask where it's not on the Ethereum ecosystem, you'd probably be a bit shocked. It's like, okay, that's how Ethereum should really work. Okay. And you've probably seen that with the likes of Moonbeam. But as you can see here, Web3 adoption, obviously Internet of Things, supply chain management, smart contracts. It kind of is a blockchain for all. And that's kind of why I like it so much. It's got a lot going for it. So certainly one to look at and keep an eye on. In terms of pricing, as you can imagine, yeah, cool. But this one actually hasn't taken much of a hammering versus the other one. So this is a very, very different one. However, the reason being, it's got released kind of not in the worst time period. So it had a bit of that bull cycle. Didn't really go up to the moon. Whereas, as you can imagine, when I go through this video, you're going to find a lot of projects go, what on earth? They do fall quite a lot. But AlphaZero has been one that hasn't. The next one is A-Star. One of the highest volume ones, one of the ones with probably the most potential. It has got some really big partnerships, certainly with Sony and stuff like that, which is really impressive. If we look at the price, as you can imagine, gives you an idea. So again, came out at kind of the wrong time. As you can see, price action started literally in January 2022, and you can imagine a little bit of a peak. But this, again, and I vow to say this, and I will say this, has never experienced a bull market. And a lot of the good projects that I invested in the previous cycle were ones that didn't really experience a bull market, but started out in the bear market and developed and developed and developed. And then all of a sudden, whoomp. This one could be on that list, right? So be wary of the fact of if they've done bull markets or bear markets. Now, this is a little bit different. As you can see here, helps to develop and build decentralized applications, so dApps, and layer 2 interoperable Web3 infrastructure, right? So it supports the Ethereum virtual machine, and the Parachain will connect with all the existing stuff. So guess what? It can communicate with each other. If you can leverage the power of Ethereum, even though it's quite clunky, even though it's got all that kind of problem with it, network effect. And I will say that with a lot of things, network effect of Ethereum will help. If you can do things through other ecosystems, it makes life so much easier. It also is backed by Binance and Coinbase Ventures, which is pretty big, right? When we look at the website, very simple website, probably one of the nicer looking ones. Now, as you can see here, a lot of numbers already, and the price action doesn't really follow this kind of situation in terms of where it actually is. But at the same time, though, you can do a lot of things with it. And yeah, all the information is here. I'm not going to go too deep into the information, but as you can see, smart contracts, build to earn, Web 2 and Web 3, and it's also backed by some pretty big players. So yeah, when we talk about the future of Polkadot and we look at where things can go, interesting, right? But this has got a partnership with Sony. It's looking relatively good, and I like it a lot. The next one is one of the favorites of mine is obviously Moonbeam. Now, when I started using this when it first came out, I was really, really taken aback by like how impressive it was. This was one of the first ones that you can use on MetaMask. The staking reward is all on MetaMask. It's really, really good. Now, obviously the price doesn't look great. The token unlocks, if you look at the token unlocks, are pretty savage, but it's getting towards the end now. We've already, the brunt of it's been done. So it's getting to the point where it will start easing off eventually. And it actually held its price for quite a while until recently. But yeah, opportunist levels. But when we look at the price, this is one of the ones that looks the worst because it kind of got launched literally, you can see that here, like the first load of prices pretty much towards the end of the, literally the first big dump of the market, similar to A-Star really. And look at where the price is, right? A massive amount of bloodshed, right? But we've got to remember, sometimes we cannot really handle or control what the listing price is, just supply and demand, a bit of hype. But as you know, this is essentially, in my opinion, Ethereum. Ethereum on the Polkadot ecosystem, the way it works and how it works, it is really, really efficient and it works very well. Recently just got onto the likes of Uniswap and stuff like that, so it's going to start getting more and more volume. We're already seeing a good little sign of development and growth in the ecosystem. Website isn't the great, needs a bit of an update, but at the end of the day, it kind of tells you what it is. Now, as I said before, it is literally the same as the likes of Ethereum. It literally is. It's the same as Ethereum, just with better code and more interoperability, which is kind of what you want. So obviously, yes, website needs a bit of an update. if it starts getting on all the ecosystems with Ethereum, it could be very, very powerful, certainly as a way of doing things. And yeah, it could be basically Polkadot's leading light for certain transactions, which is kind of important. Another one that I also rate very highly, doesn't look great because it's only 3.7 million market cap. And yes, it does have the same token name as another one, but this team was actually built before that token was released. So technically that other one kind of copied it. The information, the data is incorrect on this website, so bear that in mind. The circulating supply is actually much different. So as I say, keep mindful of that. Price, yeah, shafted. But again, similar sort of price action. This came out a lot earlier, as you can imagine here. And yeah, cool. But this is liquid staking. So as we know, liquid staking and liquidity providing is getting more and more important on the Ethereum blockchain through Lido and Rocket Pool, etc. This is essentially the same thing, but on Polkadot. Now, the amount of money that is locked up in, I'll show you, in the Ethereum staking is this. Bear with me. This is going to get, I've not looked at this for a while actually, so it could be interesting. So there's a couple of billion, just a few billion. And when we talk about other ecosystems and how it all works, you know, we'll show you here. So there we go. We've got 20 million, but $38 billion worth of Ethereum currently deposited as staking rewards, right? Now, I'm not saying we're going to get there, obviously not, but this is the same sort of thing, but on the Polkadot ecosystem using Bifrost. The platform is already there. It's already built. And yeah, guess what? You can use it. You can do a lot of things. You know, liquid staking for 9+ blockchains and beyond. There's going to be more blockchains getting added, such as Cosmos and stuff like that. So it's already pretty efficient in terms of how it works. It's already starting to get, you know, a lot of interest, which is always very, very good. And there you go. You can kind of see how it works with the yield farming and stuff like that. Different ecosystems, how it all works. You know, we've already got quite a few on there, and there's some new blockchains coming. So guess what? There's going to be an option there for cheaper, more efficient staking rewards as liquid staking through the ecosystem of Polkadot. Next one, HydraDX. Now, I've never really mentioned this one before. This is an interesting one. Now, it's not the greatest when you look at it on here. Low volume, stuff like that. But it's more the utility of what it actually is. And as a project, really, really interesting, right? Now, let me just show you kind of what it is. An ocean of liquidity for Polkadot. So when you scroll down, it's kind of like Uniswap essentially, where you can trade, you can do farming, pools, and have a wallet as well. Now, this is what I like about it, is the fact that you can instantly swap your projects within the pool, and it will work very nice. So if I just go into the pool here, essentially, and you can kind of look and see what's happening. Now I've got like one of my random wallets on here, but as you can imagine here, you can swap and move stuff around. Now this will get bigger and better as the ecosystem grows, as interoperability kind of improves too. And you know, you can see where things are actually happening. So it could be very, very interesting to see where things do go with this one. So it's worth keeping an eye on. Whether the project or not gets much traction in terms of the token is another thing, I don't know. But certainly as a use case and as a project, you're going to find more and more people will be looking at using the ecosystems within the Polkadot ecosystem to essentially, to swap things over, to be liquid, to move things around, certainly when the bull market arrives. Next one, and a kind of an obvious one for a lot of people, is Track, Origin Trail. Now, this one's an interesting one. Been around quite a while, but opted to go into the Polkadot ecosystem. Certainly when you look at what it is, so it's a Web3 infrastructure, blockchain technologies creating an inclusive ecosystem. So it's open source, permissionless, and it's basically one for like, you know, essentially a bit of everything really, but more for the real world type stuff. So when you look at their website, it'll kind of make more sense. So when you start looking at this, you know, a decentralized knowledge graph, it's got a bit of everything. So data, information, solutions. So this is where all of the information kind of is. So obviously supply chain, enterprise data interoperability, global trade and customs, EU food safety. So it's kind of like VeChain in a way, but a little bit more, you know, open world kind of stuff. And obviously it's got, you know, rewards from Walmart and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff happening, built on a substrate, built on a Parachain now. So it could get much more interesting. This has done well in previous markets as well. If I go into the, you know, as you can see, it's been around for a while. It's actually done very, very well. And like VeChain, it does well. Open world projects like this tend to do well. So this one could be a very, very interesting one to keep an eye on. For me, I think that is fantastic value when you think of where it has been in the price action. You know, that could pretty much do bits, but we'll see how things go. And finally, Kilt. Probably heard of this one more recently due to some partnerships. Again, price action absolutely destroyed, but it could mean opportunity. So this is all about identification, right? And I believe that the German government, are using this and utilizing this as well. And this has been around for it's one of the first ones to kind of get built on Parachain. So obviously on the Kusama Parachain, but yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff happening in terms of interoperability, integration, etc. on multiple networks. But as you can see, for consumers, Kilt provides a way to represent your identity without revealing things that you prefer to keep private. So much easier than obviously the traditional methods, right? So when we look at the website, you're going to start noticing some pretty big things. That company there is relatively large, right? So when we look at that, that is huge news in terms of what they're bought into in terms of the ecosystem of the Polkadot ecosystem and as well as Kilt. So yeah, digital identity, the issue of any identity on the internet, loss of identity. There's all the time on Twitter someone's getting their identity leaked. It's an absolute nightmare. So this is one for real world purpose with an actual team. It's relatively decent, right? But as I say, look at the price action here. Not great, but if there's a use case for safety with regulations and the use of blockchain in an efficient manner to make things better in the real world, this could be one that could do well. Obviously, a lot of these projects are relatively new, so bear that in mind. That doesn't mean that they are a done deal for investments. They have to take off. They have to do certain things. The team has to keep developing. So none of this is financial advice. I'm just giving you some ideas. Further videos, I will talk about individual stuff within the parachains, which kind of makes more sense. But yeah, if you do enjoy, feel free to let me know. But yeah, if you want more content, check out Patreon. If you want to learn more about how to do certain things in crypto, check out Learning Crypto as well. And yeah, I should be back at the end of the week. Live streams are returning, by the way, Monday and Friday on the channel. See you then.